If you're planning a trip to Oregon wine country, there's a good chance you're looking for things to do while you're here. So in this video, I'm going to give you the best activities you can do while you're here and also share some additional tips that will help you plan your own trip along the way. Also, if while you're here you decide Oregon is a place you want to live, you think you might want a vacation rental, or just to move here altogether, go ahead and give me a call because I'm a local real estate agent and my team helps people move here all of the time. And honestly, people who come here really typically want to stay because they love the community. And there are bugs out, so I might be doing that a few times. So let's go ahead and move on to the things that you need to do while you're here in Oregon wine country. All right, so if you're making a trip to Oregon wine country, number one on the list has to be the wine, right? I mean, Oregon wine country. After all, Oregon was actually voted as the #1 wine destination in the entire world in 2025. Think about all the different places like France and Italy, California, but Oregon wine country was #1, which is just kind of crazy to think about. But that said, there are literally hundreds of wineries. Now, the winery I'm at right now, which has one of the best views probably in all of the state, is called Eminent Domain. So huge shout out to Eminent Domain, thanks for letting me film here. But there's hundreds of wineries and you can't check out all of them. So my recommendation is to go to winecountry.com, and they have a really helpful list to help you decide, what kind of wines do you like? What kind of atmosphere do you want? Do you want a view? Do you want something where you can do walk-ins? Do you need appointments? Super helpful. There's also wine touring companies like Black Tie or Pinot Car, and they can help you actually do a wine tour so you're not having to physically drive to each place. So, you can drink wine and not have to worry about a DUI or, crashing and dying. All right, next up, you want to figure out what kind of food you want while you're here. So again, so much food, so many amazing places to eat, but a few of my favorites and favorites around the area are the Allison. So the Jory within the Allison, which is the #1 hotel in Oregon, they have an amazing restaurant. There's the Painted Lady, which is high end but super amazing. Rosmarino Italiana, which is probably the best Italian food maybe in the state. They won like a ton of awards. There's the Joel Plummer House. Some other popular ones are the Trellis in Dundee, Red Hills Market. So I'd recommend checking those places out. So those are a few starting points, and from there you can find a ton of other local opinions while you're here. All right, if you're into outdoors and adventure, which if you're coming to Oregon, that's probably who you are. So the next ones I'm going to do are outdoor and adventure activities. So the first one is Vista hot air balloons. So these are in Newberg, Oregon, and this is, if you love scenery, which as you can tell there's amazing scenery here, they take you up into the air and it's early in the morning, super beautiful. You can see 10 mountains with the snow peaks on them, and it's breathtakingly beautiful. Now, I haven't done it personally, but I've heard it's absolutely incredible, and if you're here, you absolutely have to check it out. Next up is the Oregon coast. If you're here in Oregon visiting and you're not a native to Oregon, you have to check out the Oregon coast. It's one of the most beautiful places probably in the world. And it's not your typical sandy beaches. There's rocks, there's super cool tide pools, there's amazing hikes where you can go see. It's just the natural scenery is incredible. Now the water is cold, but you can go in and after a while your body gets numb. So if you don't mind hypothermia, you can ride on the waves as well. All right, so heading the opposite direction from the Oregon coast is the Japanese garden. Now the Japanese garden is known as the most beautiful and authentic garden in the world outside of Japan. One of the ambassadors from Japan actually said that. But there's 12.5 acres of beautiful scenery, the natural shrubbery, the structures, everything about it is absolutely breathtaking. And while I was doing the research for this video, it really made me want to go back. Right across from the Japanese garden is the International Rose Testing Garden in Portland. So if you're at the Japanese garden, you have to check it out because there's over 10,000 roses, over 600 varieties of roses, and they're beautiful, they smell amazing, and it's just one of those places that you have to see for yourself. And if you're in Oregon wine country from May through September, you should try out the Willamette Jet Boat Tour. So this is a way to get on the Willamette River, learn a lot about Portland, about the water, and it's a lot of fun. They go fast, they do like 360 turns, and you'll probably get a bit wet, but it's a ton of fun and something to check out if you like the thrill. Another way to get to see the beautiful landscape if you're not into hot air balloons and want something that's a little more enclosed, you can actually go on helicopter rides. So Jerry Trimble Helicopters is one of the main ones. There's probably other options, but they'll actually give you tours where you can go up and kind of see see the entire landscape, and they'll tell you about the area. So that is a super incredible option as well. All right, next up is hikes. If you like hiking and want to know some of the best hikes around here, there's a few that I recommend for sure. So one, at the coast, there's a ton of great hikes down at the Oregon coast. But Silver Falls is the biggest state park in Oregon. It has absolutely incredible hikes, beautiful waterfalls, beautiful forest, and I highly recommend it. The other one is Tualatin Wildlife Refuge, which is just up the road from Newberg, Oregon in Tualatin, and that has, you can see birds, you can see a lot of wildlife there, but if you've never been to Oregon and you haven't checked out the Columbia Gorge, it's not quite in wine country, it's just to, I guess that would be the east. You have to check out the Columbia Gorge. Probably some of the best hikes, I don't know, in the world. Definitely some of the best hikes in the state. The most popular one is Multnomah Falls, which is the tallest waterfall in Oregon. But if you go to gorgefriends.org, you can see that there are so many other beautiful hikes. Just looking at the front pictures, you can see on the website how beautiful these other hikes are. So highly recommend that if you're into hikes and haven't been to Oregon. Another great area for hiking that is closer to kind of the central wine country area is Champoeg State Park. Now it looks like it's pronounced Champoeg, but it's actually Champoeg. And this one has over 600 acres of beautiful trees and wetlands, and it's right next to the river. It's kind of hard to access the river from there unless you go down the boat ramp, but it's super beautiful, great hikes, and great way to just get out into nature. Also a ton of great history there, as it's the place where the state of Oregon was actually formed. Another option is kayaking and paddleboarding. So in Newberg at the Rogers Landing, and also down kind of towards St. Paul, Woodburn area, there's some ways that you can access the Willamette River and go out onto the water itself. So that is a lot of fun if you like being out on the water and like the adventure, but want something a little bit more cost effective and a little bit calmer and at your own pace. All right, last up on the more active and adventure type of things is the Wings and Waves Water Park, which is right next to the Aviation Museum, the Evergreen Aviation Museum, which I'll get to in a second. But the Wings and Waves Water Park is super cool because there's a wave pool, there's science exhibits about like water, and you can actually slide out of a real 747 that's on top of the building. That's kind of what it's known for. So that is a lot of fun as well. All right, the next one I'm going to throw in is for entertainment. Now you might want to watch a movie while you're here, but if you do, you have to check out the 99W drive-in. So this is one of the oldest drive-ins. It's one of the only ones left actually, where you can go and park in your car and watch on the big screen while listening through your radio. So there's not many of these left, and it's kind of an iconic feature here in the Newberg area that you have to check out. One thing is you have to make sure you get there early, because especially in the summer, the lines can be super long and they don't let you in until like 6 o'clock. So just get there early, or come in after everyone's gone. You might not get a great spot, but you can still watch the movie. All right, the next activities are more on the history and education side. So before I mentioned the Evergreen Space and Aviation Museum, and if you're in Oregon wine country, you haven't been to Oregon before, that is really kind of a must-see. It has the Spruce Goose, which is one of the largest planes ever built. It's the largest completely wooden plane ever built. It's got rockets in there on the space side. There's a Blackbird, which is the fastest plane ever built. A lot of really fun things to see there. Super informative, super engaging for the whole family. Next up, if you love history, is the Hoover House. So the Hoover House was the boyhood home of Herbert Hoover, who was the 31st president of the United States. So he lived there for a while when he was a boy, and this home was built in the 1880s. It's the oldest home in Newberg, and it keeps to that original time period. So if you go in, it's not going to look like a house looks like today. It's actually going to look like what a home was like in the 1880s. So that's a fun place to go and check out what things were like at that time period, and also learn more about our 31st president. Next up is the Yamhill Valley Heritage Center. So this is on the way to the coast past McMinnville, but if you are interested in what life was like, you like seeing vintage tractors and a lot of really old things, what history was like in Yamhill County, that is a great one to check out. All right, last up on the history side is the Ewing Distillery. So Ewing was one of Oregon's most important pioneers, and he was also Oregon's first distiller back in the 1830s. So the Ewing Distillery is tucked into the hills outside of Newberg. It's a super beautiful setting. There's a rustic barn where you get to drink the whiskey out of. There's axe throwing, and if you tell the owner, Doug, that I sent you, you might even get to hear some of the cool stories about Ewing himself, as Doug is a super intense history buff and really engaging to listen to. So after all that activity, you might be ready to slow down a little bit, recharge, and relax. And that is where the Allison Inn Spa comes in if you're not already staying there. So the Allison, like I mentioned earlier, is the #1 hotel in Oregon, but even if you're not staying the night, you can still go and reserve a massage or a facial, which is a nice way to calm down after a busy, fun-filled day. Now, there's probably 100 other things I could mention, but for this video, what I'm going to say is that one of your best sources for other activities is probably going to be the destination marketing organizations. So for an example, there's Taste Newberg or Visit McMinnville. Those are the organizations that actually help tourists come to those places and then curate a ton of different local things to do, activities, events, and those are great websites to check out. They also even have itineraries based on your personality type to help you decide where you might want to eat, where you might want to stay. So that's going to be a really good option for you as well. Also, again, if you want to move to Newberg or McMinnville or anywhere in the Oregon wine country, again, my real estate team, the Joyful Roberts Group, we help people move here all the time. So give us a call. You can go to our website, thejoyfulrobertsgroup.com, which should be at the bottom of the screen, and I look forward to hearing from you. Also, like and subscribe this video so that you can see more videos like this when they come out. And with that, I'll catch you in the next video.